Good evening and welcome to California Today. I'm Bill Thomas, and here's a preview of some of today's stories. San Francisco police have arrested a man suspected of killing tech executive Bob Lee. City officials confirmed today that the two men knew each other. Senator Dianne Feinstein is still missing in action, and Chuck Schumer now agrees to temporarily replace her on the Senate Judiciary Committee. And a state Senate bill tackling fentanyl use among youth groups continues to advance through the legislature. The bill is named after a high schooler who lost her life to a suspected fentanyl overdose. San Francisco police say they've arrested a man suspected of stabbing and killing tech executive Bob Lee. The suspect also happens to work in the tech industry and knew Lee prior to the incident.
San Francisco police announced they have arrested 38-year-old Nima Momeni of Emerville, the owner of a company called Expand IT. He allegedly stabbed and killed Cash App founder Bob Lee on April 4th.
This morning, members of the San Francisco Police Department's Investigations Bureau and Tactical Unit served several search warrants and an arrest warrant in San Francisco and Emeryville, California. Mr. Momeni was taken into custody without incident in Emeryville, California. He was transported to the San Francisco County Jail and booked on one charge of murder.
Police responded to a call about the stabbing at around 2:35 a.m. They found the 43-year-old suffering from life-threatening injuries in downtown San Francisco. He was transported to the Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, but did not make it.
The specific charges that we are filing today include murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187, as well as a special allegation also known as an enhancement, alleging that this murder was committed with a knife.
According to police, Lee allegedly knew Momeni, so it was not a random attack. Mission Local reported that they were driving in the suspect's car and there was some kind of confrontation. Police recovered a knife nearby. Lee's brother, Tim, posted on Facebook saying he looks forward to working with the district attorney's office to prosecute the case. He said, "Hopefully now our family can begin the healing process." Momeni is scheduled to be arraigned at 1:30 p.m. on Friday at the Hall of Justice on no bail. Following the murder, among reports of other crimes, there have been growing debates over the city's safety. According to the city's crime dashboard, San Francisco has seen 13 homicides so far this year.
89-year-old Senator Dianne Feinstein continues to work from home due to health-related issues. Fellow Democrats have called on her to resign. Senator Chuck Schumer has now agreed to temporarily replace Feinstein on a major Senate committee. NTD's Arian Pazdar has the latest.
Senator Dianne Feinstein requested to be replaced on the Senate Judiciary Committee for now. On Thursday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer confirmed, saying he'll ask the Senate to replace her next week. Feinstein's request comes after two fellow Democrats called on her to resign. The 89-year-old is working from her San Francisco home due to health problems. Because of that, she missed 60 of the 82 Senate votes taken in 2023. This comes at a time when President Biden is trying to get new federal judges through a tightly controlled Senate. One of the House Democrats who called on her to resign said it's unacceptable to have Senator Feinstein miss vote after vote to confirm judges. On Wednesday, Representative Nancy Pelosi came to Feinstein's defense in this interview with ABC7.
I don't know what political agendas are at work that are going after Senator Feinstein in that way. I've never seen them go after a man who was sick in the Senate in that way.
Some say Pelosi could be hinting at Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who's also been missing in action due to health-related issues. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
Lawmakers in California are proposing a bill that would expand the protections against deportations for illegal immigrants who are victims or witnesses of crime. Los Angeles officials and the district attorney recently voiced their support for the bill.
Democratic Assemblyman Miguel Santiago introduced a bill that would expand protections against deportation for illegal immigrants who are victims or witnesses of crime. This includes those with a criminal history or gang membership. During a Monday press conference, Los Angeles officials, including District Attorney George Gascon, voiced their support for Santiago's Assembly Bill 1261.
We also know that entire neighborhoods have a mixture of people within the neighborhood that includes undocumented immigrants. And what occurs is that often when people are being the victims of crimes, reporting will not occur because we are fearful that a family member or one of our neighbors may be deported.
Santiago says his bill will reduce crime and give protection to those who may be victims of sexual abuse, domestic violence, and trafficking. But former Los Angeles District Attorney Steve Cooley told the Epoch Times that the proposed bill is, quote, vastly expanding the protections to a whole new array of crimes and persons. He says maybe Gascon ought to stop protecting criminals and start advancing the interests of true victims. Under current federal laws, a temporary immigrant petition, known as a U visa, can be filed if someone is a witness to or informant of a crime. The bill would expand these protections to allow illegal immigrants, regardless of criminal history and immigration status, to be certified by an official as a witness or informant. AB 1261 passed the Public Safety Committee on April 11th and is now heading to the Appropriations Committee.
A state Senate bill tackling fentanyl use among youth groups is moving forward in the legislature. The proposed law is named after a teenager who died from a suspected fentanyl overdose at her high school.
Senate Bill 10, known as Melanie's Law, was named after Melanie Ramos, a 15-year-old girl who died from a suspected fentanyl overdose at Bernstein High School in Hollywood on September 1st. She was missing for 8 hours until found in a restroom. Her mother, Elena Perez, is supporting this new bill and at the same time suing the school district.
But now the state senator, through SB 10, will enact those changes which will force the district to take immediate action, will force the district to do something to protect kids.
SB 10 was introduced by San Jose Senator Dave Cortese in December. The bill would establish a state working group on fentanyl education in schools, requiring schools to distribute resource guides to education agencies and communities. Also in December, Perez announced a lawsuit against the Los Angeles Unified School District, alleging school officials knew there was a problem with drug use at the campus but took no action.
So look, unfortunately, fentanyl was not known before. Now that my daughter passed away, a lot of people know about fentanyl.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid known to be 100 times more potent than morphine.
With a bit, just a bit, having it close to yourself, you can get unconscious.
At this school, it's a hot button issue. Fentanyl overdoses were happening constantly at the school and nobody changed anything. And that's why we're faulting the district.
LAUSD says they do not comment on pending litigation, but says the safety and well-being of our students and employees remain our top priority.
Following the recent bank failures, some Democratic lawmakers have begun to blame the Trump administration and their banking rules. But FDIC Vice Chairman Travis Hill says rules under previous administrations have nothing to do with the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank.
Some lawmakers assert that the Economic Growth, Regulatory Relief, and Consumer Protection Act contributed to the banking turmoil last month. This was a bipartisan legislation signed by Trump in 2018. It eased some requirements on banks with less than $250 billion. Namely, it meant those banks would no longer have to go through an annual stress tests by the Federal Reserve. The previous requirement applied to all banks with over $50 billion. But Travis Hill, with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, disputes that this bill had anything to do with the recent bank failures. Instead, he says it's a result of not handling rising interest rates properly. He says he hopes people can first look at the facts and then arrive at conclusions, rather than just starting with a conclusion you hope to be true and grasping around for facts in support. He also urges policymakers to, quote, propose policy changes based on where we find evident holes in our framework, rather than just trying to undo policies of the past.
The IRS says nearly 1.5 million Americans have unclaimed tax refunds for 2019. The statement says they face a looming deadline to claim a total of $1.5 billion before it becomes government property. The IRS commissioner says many people may have overlooked or forgotten about these refunds. There's a 3-year window for taxpayers to file returns and claim refunds. If they don't file within 3 years, any money they could have received becomes property of the U.S. Treasury. Now, normally the deadline for filing older tax returns falls around the April tax deadline, but for 2019 returns, that window has now been extended to July 17th. The average unclaimed amount for 2019 is just under $900 per filer. We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. The LA School District just finalized a new labor agreement with union leaders. Now the Board of Education must vote to approve the contract before it can take effect. A Northern California county is converting their wastewater monitoring program used for tracking the coronavirus to testing for opioids. County officials say the program will assist in local drug prevention and intervention efforts. And a Southern California city is welcoming the return of their annual Cherry Blossom Festival. The event is expected to draw thousands of visitors this weekend. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Bill Thomas. Thousands of Los Angeles Unified School District service workers just approved a labor agreement. The contract was finalized after a strike closed down the nation's second largest school district for 3 days.
Over 99% of members of the Los Angeles Unified School District approved a new labor agreement. Roughly 30,000 members of the Service Employees International Union Local 99, or SEIU Local 99, cast ballots on the proposed contract. The contract was formulated March 24th following a strike that shuttered the nation's second largest school district for 3 days. Their strike was also joined by roughly 30,000 members of the United Teachers Los Angeles, which represents the district's teachers. The contract effectively met the union's demand for a 30% pay raise. It also includes bonus payments, retroactive pay, and fully paid health benefits. According to union representatives, the 30% wage hike will increase the average salary of union members. Their wages will go from $25,000 a year to $33,000 a year. In addition, the deal will include a $1,000 bonus to members who were with the district during the 2020-21 school year. Now, the deal must also be approved by the LAUSD Board of Education. A vote is expected to occur at the next board meeting set for April 18th.
As pandemic-era policies are lifted one by one, a Northern California county is also shifting gears. The county's wastewater monitoring program, used for tracking the coronavirus, is now being used to test for another deadly public health crisis, opioids.
Marin County, north of San Francisco, began a pilot program in February to collect wastewater samples from its sanitation agency and test them for the presence of substances like fentanyl, methamphetamines, cocaine, and nicotine.
One of the great things we learned about COVID-19 is that when it's excreted into the wastewater, we're actually able to use concentrations of the virus in the wastewater to determine how much virus is circulating in the community. And we want to know the same thing about what is one of the most important threats to health in our community, which is substances that are causing overdoses, like fentanyl.
The county used the same method and partners to monitor the coronavirus, so the infrastructure for the pilot program is largely in place. Twice a week, workers with the Central Marin Sanitation Agency collect a 50 milliliter sample of wastewater from the roughly 8 million gallons that flow into its San Rafael facility daily. That wastewater comes from residential, commercial, and industrial sources like kitchen and bathroom sinks, toilets, showers, and more.
Those composite bottles are then taken back to the lab. They're poured off into a container. They're sealed up. They're labeled. They're logged in, and then shipped to BioBot, respectively. Containers are then cleaned, brought back out here to set up for the next day. Right now we're grabbing 2 samples a week, so it's Mondays and Wednesdays that we're grabbing samples here to send off to BioBot.
The sample is then shipped to BioBot Analytics, the same Cambridge, Massachusetts-based company that tested the county's wastewater for coronavirus. Upon arrival, BioBot research associates will process and analyze the sample, separating larger, solid particulates while capturing the drugs of interest. During this process, they will look for two key indicators, a parent drug and metabolites.
And a parent drug is really just the exact same thing that's been administered. So if someone has injected fentanyl, we're looking for fentanyl. If someone has smoked methamphetamine, we're looking for methamphetamine. And a metabolite is going to tell us that a drug has gone through the body, has been metabolized by normal biological processes for humans, and then is excreted in our urine. So presence of a metabolite indicates that it has gone through this process and tells us that it's due to humans consuming that.
According to Dr. Willis, the pilot program's data will still need to be validated.
This is important because this is a public health crisis. The problem of overdose is a public health crisis. We're losing one resident every 5 days in Marin County. The risk of dying from an overdose in Marin County was 10 times higher than from dying from COVID-19 for anyone under age 60 last year. And so we really think it's important for us to develop the same kind of surveillance method, the same kind of intelligence we had applied to the COVID-19 pandemic to this new crisis of overdoses.
As they complete the pilot program, they hope to determine whether this type of monitoring and the data it produces can be beneficial in assisting local drug prevention and intervention efforts.
Southern California's Balboa Island Ferry has been a popular Newport Beach destination since 1919, but now the century-old company may soon have to shut down due to the state's zero-emission regulations.
The California Air Resources Board, or CARB, is requiring a 104-year-old company to switch to electric engines by the end of 2025. But Seymour Beek, owner of the Balboa Island Ferry, told the Epoch Times it's probably not going to happen. It's probably impossible. Beek estimates that it may cost $4.5 million to convert the company's 3 vessels to electric, and ordering the electric motors can take up to 50 months. His efforts to get CARB to postpone the regulation and secure state funding have been both unsuccessful so far. Although the family business is not a major source of income to Beek, his 40-person crew will lose their jobs if the ferry closes. Beek said, "We will stop operating, which is a bad thing for the public and a bad thing for the city of Newport Beach. It's very popular." The 5-minute ferry runs between Balboa Island and the Balboa Fun Zone. It serves around 1.5 million people, up to 400,000 cars and 500,000 bicyclists every year. The Balboa Island Ferry is among a dozen short-run ferries to be impacted by CARB's zero-emission regulation. The requirement is part of the state's effort to reduce its carbon footprint by 2025.
This month, Southern California's Huntington Beach will return to hosting their yearly Cherry Blossom Festival. After being canceled several years in a row, the weekend event is set to draw thousands to its location on Talbert Avenue.
This year's Huntington Beach Cherry Blossom Festival will be held from April 14th through the 16th. Over 70,000 people attended the festival when it last ran in 2019, with more expected this year. The weekend event includes a Sakura night market that features authentic Japanese and Japanese American fare. According to the event site, the festival's longest lines have continually been for food. The festival will also feature Japanese dance, music, cultural exhibits, arts, crafts, and games. It will also include geisha dancers, vibrant kimono robes, traditional paper craft stations, and other Japanese cultural booths. According to festival officials, the event's history with the city dates back to 1982, when the city's relationship with Japan's city of Anjo was first established. The Huntington Beach Sister Association and their sister city Anjo have hosted the event since 2014. It's an outgrowth of former President Eisenhower's People-to-People program, which was designed to promote cultural exchange.
Let's check in now with NTD's Carlos Reyes for today's Sports Roundup, where a Gilroy native has defeated the Sharks and an unlucky baseball team broke a losing streak.
Thanks, Bill. We have some exciting scores to go over today. This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. Nikita Zadorov collected his first career hat trick, and goaltender Dustin Wolf won in his NHL debut. All this as host Calgary concluded its season by scoring 3 unanswered goals in a victory over San Jose. Wolf, the 2019 7th-round draft choice and third-year pro who leads the AHL in nearly every goaltending category, made an impressive 23 saves. Wolf is a native to Gilroy, California, and grew up idolizing former Sharks goaltender Evgeny Nabokov. Noah Gregor scored for the Sharks, who have lost 5 straight games. Goalie Kaapo Kähkönen made a career-high 46 saves, 21 of them in the third period. Flames 3, Sharks 1. Carlos Perez had 3 hits, including a home run, and Oakland ended a 6-game losing streak with a win at Baltimore. Brent Rooker homered, singled, and had 3 RBIs for Oakland, which plated 8 runs for the second straight game. Chad Smith pitched 2 scoreless innings of relief for the win. Rooker and Jace Peterson opened the Oakland 8th with singles off Keegan Aiken. Sionel Perez replaced Aiken, and Aledmis Diaz loaded the bases with a bunt single. Jesus Aguilar's sacrifice fly put the A's ahead 5-4, and Oakland scored runs on a safety squeeze and Perez's RBI single to take control for good. A's 8, Orioles 4. Logan O'Hope's RBI single in the 6th inning snapped a 2-2 tie. 4 Los Angeles relievers combined for 4 scoreless innings on the way to a victory over Washington in Anaheim. Griffin Canning made the start on the mound for the Angels, his first major league appearance since July of 2021, before a stress fracture of his lower back sidelined him. He got a no decision but pitched well, giving up 2 runs and 5 hits in just 5 innings. Canning struck out 4 and did not walk a batter while throwing 69 pitches. After the Nationals took a 2-1 lead in the top of the 4th, the Angels loaded the bases with no outs in the bottom of the inning. Washington starter Mackenzie Gore nearly escaped, striking out Gio Urshela and O'Hope. But Brett Phillips followed with a walk, driving in a run and tying the game at 2-2. Angels 3, Nationals 2. That is it for today's sports. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
That's all we have for you tonight, and would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Also, make sure to check out our broadcast on our California Today webpage, and you can find that easily at ntd.com/California-Today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there ready to share with friends and family. And if you could, we'd love to hear from you. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, and that's california.today@ntd.com. I'm Bill Thomas, and for all of us here in the newsroom, have a great night.